In this video, we're going to look at how we can take a scanned document, in this case a rental agreement, and fill it in within the browser. Now I'm currently using Zodo.com, which means I've got a full suite of editing capabilities built in, so I can add some free text to the document. I can also change where that text is, or edit it, or change the styling, perhaps a different colour or font size. And I could do this at each of the underlines within the document. But this isn't possible if you haven't got an editor such as Zodo.com. So as an alternative, let's create a form from this document that can then be edited in any browser. We're going to go through the process of working with this form in 3 steps, and you can check out the GitHub repo that has all of the code available. So here's our rental agreement within Apryse WebViewer. Apryse WebViewer is what's actually running behind Zodo.com, but I've configured the user interface here to just show the Forms tab, and it's really easy to configure WebViewer. So we're going to go through, and everywhere there's an underline, we're going to create a form field. Let's add the name of the landlord as Jordan Whitaker, and we'll say that's going to be read-only. Next, we'll repeat the process with all the other fields that relate to the landlord. We'll give it a default value, but we'll not make it read-only. And we'll repeat that for the city and state. Now let's update those field names to be something more meaningful. So we'll have name landlord, address landlord, city landlord, and state landlord. Now let's add some more fields for the tenants, and there might be more than one. So we'll have first name 1, middle name 1, last name 1, and we'll repeat those names for the second tenant. And as an example, I've made that last name 1 required, which is why it's got a red outline. We also need to add a field for the address and the start and end dates. We'll fast forward through doing that. Now let's add another field, which is multi-line, where we can put in any comments, and we'll give that a title. And finally, let's add a signature box and put in a field indicator so we can see where the user needs to sign this. And let's go back to that comments box, and we'll change the styling of it, and we'll make it that it's got red text. And that's our form created. Let's have a quick look at the code and see how this was done. And here we have it, 30 lines of code to make all this work. We've created a div where we're going to mount WebViewer, and then we're instantiating WebViewer, but that's it. In fact, the main thing we're doing in here is we're disabling the elements to update the user interface, and that was my choice because I just wanted to show the Forms tool group. The Form Builder functionality is built into WebViewer. We've now got a form that we can send to whoever needs to fill it in, whether that's by email, and they can use a browser, or Adobe Acrobat, or Apryse WebViewer, Zodo, whichever. While they'll be able to fill in the text fields directly from any browser, they won't be able to fill in that signature field because that's advanced functionality only available in advanced editors such as Apryse WebViewer. But in many of those, they're not going to see that some of the fields are required or that there's a signature field. So let's head back into Apryse WebViewer and the second part of the process. Already we can see the required field and the signature field, and we can edit some of the pre-populated fields, but not the ones that were marked as read-only. We can also add new text to our fields, so we'll put in the first and last names for our tenant of Alicia Monroe. Since we're using WebViewer, we have control over what's going on here, so we could, if we want, take parameters from the URL and use those to pre-populate some of the fields. So let's update the address and city where the landlord is based. We've also specified the address which is being rented. Cool. So again, we can enter our first and last names, and we can add our comments. So let's say that they've got a cat and they're keen to move in as soon as possible. And note how this is in red because that's how we specified the style for this field. Finally, let's sign the document. We're now ready to download it and send it back. We could just download it using the built-in functionality, but I've added a custom button that will not just download it, but it will make all of those fields read-only, so no one can change them afterwards. Let's look at how this has been implemented. The initial setup is the same as before, and I've disabled a slightly different set of elements, so now we have the form fill, but not the forms tool group available. You can see I've also created a save button, and I'm adding that button to the modular header. When someone clicks on that button, it's calling my function lockForm, which iterates through all of the fields that the annotation manager knows about and sets each one to read only. Once that's complete, it's downloading the PDF. The final part of the code is triggered once all of the annotations have loaded. We go through each of the fields in turn, and if the field name matches a URL parameter, we're replacing the value with the one from the URL parameter. We could extend this code, and instead of getting the values from the URL, we could get them from a database. The final part of the process is opening that form in the third page of our sample. And what it's done is when all the annotations have loaded, it's gone through, found all those fields, and found the values associated with those fields, and it's put them into an alert box. An alert box isn't great, but it's simple for a demonstration. In reality, it'd be putting this data into a database, or maybe using it to populate another document. And here's the final document. It's all read-only because we made it read-only at the end of the previous step. And here we have the code, and it's actually very similar to the previous step. Once again, we're disabling elements, and now I'm disabling both the fill and sign and the forms tool groups, but not the view tool group. I'm also disabling the form field indicator, the arrow that says where you should sign. Just as before, we're using the annotations loaded event, and now we're going through all of the fields in the document, and we're extracting the values from them. And in this case, we're putting them into an alert, but of course we could save them and do whatever we want with them. Before we finish though, let's look at the Apryse showcase, because that demonstrates another way that you can actually build forms, and that's using our smart data extraction form field detection. So let's open our original scanned document, then click on the button to detect where the form fields are. The AI has inspected our document and determined where it thinks the fields are likely to be. It's marked those up, and it's also created a JSON file with the location information. We can then click on Build Form, and it will take that information and use that to create new form fields. There's a couple of places where it's detected fields where we don't want them, but we can use the field editor, just as we did before, to rename fields or remove the ones that we don't want. And just as before, we can also add new fields if we want, for example, that comments box or a signature field. Whilst in this case, we've built up the fields using the UI, we could also have done exactly the same using the Apryse SDK. We could take that JSON file, or one created by any other AI, to create new fields programmatically based on that data before the PDF is rendered. But don't take my word for it, try things for yourself. You can download the files associated with this video from the link in the comments. So try that out, get yourself a trial license key, and see all the great things you can do with Apryse WebViewer. Thanks for watching, catch you next time.